Morning, year threes. We are doing our comic strip this morning of our myth of Daedalus and Icarus. We're just going to have a little review of the myth, the sequence of the myth to start with, and you should have got this by now. And even if you're not sure, don't worry, because you'll be able to use your plan from yesterday, your comic strip plan, and even your map. So let's have a little think. Where's the beginning of the myth? What happens? What about the middle? And the ending? It's a tragic ending, very sad. And what's your favourite part of this myth? Have a little think about that. And when we use our plans, when we do our writing, we really can't get this wrong, because you'll have everything on there, all your settings, your events, everything the characters say and do can be added now, so we can get that going. So have a little talk about that, and then today we're going to be using all those plans and this knowledge in your head to really get this myth done and dusted. Okay, so pause the video now and have a really good think and talk about that. And hopefully you've got a little bit more into your head and ready to get your ideas down. So how can we improve from our plans today? Because we can add more information, and we can it's not really about adding more, because I've got an awful lot of space in these comic strips to write a huge massive story. We're not after that today. We're after the real crunch facts and information about those key bits of information today. So you've really got to pull out those really important bits of the story. So, and then you can perhaps add some adjectives in. So if you're going to describe someone, a character, you can make sure you get an adjective in when you describe them. So King Minos, you could say he's vile king, or he's vicious, or he's nasty or evil. Okay, and if you're talking about, if you're going to introduce Icarus, you could say young Icarus, or strong, proud Icarus, and or inventive Daedalus. So make sure you add that in so your reader knows about them. So your setting as well, again, powerful adjectives. Talk about the beaming sun, the cave, just like they were put into a prison cave, they were put into a harsh or a hard or a doom and gloomy cave, a luxurious palace. I love the word luxurious, and I use it in mine. So yeah, those, really, really inspiring adjectives. You're going to be able to use a simple speech bubble. Don't forget, if you're putting it in that picture, you don't need inverted commas today. You can just draw the speech mark around the speech bubble, the speech bubble around the words that are being spoken, and back to that character's mouth, or near the character, and that's absolutely fine. But if you're going to use it in the actual bit where you're writing, in the lined area, you need your inverted commas in there. So you might want to include how the character's feeling, especially at the end. I think, we need to hear how terribly heartbroken poor Daedalus is. So time conjunctions, a really good way of moving your story forward, after a long, terrible time in the cave, or meanwhile, something else is happening, in a split second, without warning, he takes off and flies away. So use those, because it helps to move your story along. There's little Icarus there with his fantastic wings on. You might want to think about that really key moment in your myth, in your story. That's the bit that the reader's been looking forward to. Don't let that sort of slip by, and it's really important, because especially with the amount of space we've got to sort of hone in on that part. And really, if you're going to up level and make a bit better today, do that bit. If you're waiting for the best bit in the story, or the best bit that your favourite part is, really just go back and choose a better verb, choose a better adjective. See if you can challenge yourself to improve that part of it, rather than just, oh yeah, I'll just write that bit in. Just copying it in is not really useful. So today Mrs. Ludlow's done a waggle. What a good one looks like. Well, we're going to take a look at this together, and the first thing is it's Mrs. Ludlow's, and I really found this quite a tricky actually, and I've got, you know, rubbishy. It's a bit of a lockdown Ludlow moment here. I realised that I couldn't find my felt tip pens yesterday to make it really nice and bright. Yeah, I just found it really hard. I haven't got a printer at home that's working. My new printer is just has got to go back because it's not working, so I couldn't even get my page printed out. I wanted to do it on the computer and I was really struggling. So this is what I came up with. I'd say it's what an okay-ish one looks like. Okay, I think I could do a better version of it, but let's have a look at it anyway because it's got some of those key things in it. So I start off really with beautiful writing here. By the end, I think I've lost it. So, you know, that's a bit to pick up on. Don't look at my lovely pictures because I was, you know, finding it really. Sometimes I can do nice pictures and quite good. Other times, not quite so great. The picture of Minos here, yeah, it looks like he's got no teeth in. So yeah, it's you know, and I was quite pleased with how my vicious Minotaur came out with though. He's mooing, and you can see my speech marks, my speech bubbles here. Keep calling them speech marks, speech bubbles here. He's mooing and grunting, which I quite liked. And so yeah, there's bits that are okay, but you know, there's always room for improvement. So in a luxurious palace lived an evil king, tyrant, which means a nasty person that's always very powerful and trying to take over everything. King Minos ruled Crete. He paid the inventor Daedalus to work for him. And here's the labyrinth, and I've put little words around here. Where are you? No. Hello? No way in, no way out. Here? Over here. So it's almost like people were talking and getting lost in there, and you know, you might put some growling noises or something like that in there. I just thought that was quite nice because you've got, you know, you can be a bit creative with your comic strips. Don't fill it up completely so that it's, you know, just a few little bits here and there can really add interest for your reader. Always wanting more, Daedalus made a labyrinth for Minos with his son Icarus. So it introduces Icarus. I put his monstrous pet, so it's a really nice adjective there. He ate people, he put him in as a guard. Scared, Icarus and his father wanted to leave. No, you will not tell the secrets of the labyrinth. Minos threw them into a dark rotten cave with no escape. They were devastated and vowed to get away. For months they were trapped. I wondered if I should have actually put on a perhaps a little conjunction up here, like, you know, you can do that. Look, but I did that here. But Minos put his, so you can add a little bit here to move the story forward actually. And I put until a feather, they were trapped until a feather gave Daedalus a brilliant idea. I know. So he's put in, I've put a little thinking bubble here, and it says, I wonder. So it's obviously Daedalus in this horrible old cave. In a flash, he built amazing wings for them both, and they crept and leapt away across the azure sea, up into the clear blue sky. I was quite pleased with that one because I love the opening of that in a flash, in a sudden moment. And then I've got them jumping off the rock here, and there's one of them, I don't know which one's which actually. 3, 2, 1, jump. And then I've got the other one shouting out, whee, because he's flying. I think that one must be Icarus because he's enjoying it so much. Daedalus warned his only son not to go too near. Flying is the best feeling in the world. Icarus, come back. He warned his only son not to go too near, but Icarus took no notice, much to his cost as he fell to earth. Splosh. Icarus was buried on an island under a large tree. If only you hadn't been so proud of flying, Icarus wailed poor Daedalus as he buried his son. And that bit I definitely found tricky to squeeze that in, and that was one of the things that towards the end, you know, not having probably stopped saying the words aloud and trying to put in too much information, which I was, you know, quite studied with at the beginning, and really choosing my length of sentences a little bit better than by the end. And that can happen because you can sort of fizzle out with your with your motivation really. So what I would do perhaps next time is maybe I'd start to do this really key part first. There's no problem with this because it's really set out nicely. You know, you don't have to start it in this order, and when you're writing it flows really nicely, but nothing's to stop you with a comic strip to start, you know, at the end or at the best bit, and then putting the meat on the bones afterwards. Okay, so we're writing our small sections in our comic strip myth today, so it's important that we reach the end of the story, and that we don't fizzle out a bit like Mrs. Ludlow. You know, we want it as good quality at the end as it is in the beginning, and as I said to you, no problem with you switching that around. Really important that you have a finished piece of work for your reader. Top tip for you: it can be useful to say the sentences before you write them. You can put it in your head. It's saying it and mouthing it out quickly, or quietly whispering it if you're in class. That's a really good way just to get your sentences. You know, does it sound right? Okay, can I really, you know, up level my first adjective I've used, or put in a more powerful verb? If you're working alone, you're really great, as lucky old you, because you can say them out loud and nobody will mind. Okay, well, if you're in class, you might find that a little bit more difficult. So more top tips: you're going to use your checklist to check that you've got all those features and challenges that you can. Don't copy your work in, we've already said that. Make those improvements as you go. So we're going to check out the checklist. You don't have to use these, but it can be useful just to keep yourself on track, and I definitely have a look sort of halfway through and just make sure you've got some of these features in here, and just making sure you're on track really. When you look at it first of all, it might be, oh my goodness me, what's all this? Don't worry, it's only just using your capital letters for all the names, the places. There's a lot of names and places in here, and putting your full stops in. Just to remind you, using your range of punctuation, you might want to put a question mark, an exclamation mark, and some speech marks in there, some direct speech using your inverted commas rather. And you're going to make sure each of your writing section is below the correct drawing. Don't talk about something else. You can move your story along, but try and match it so that your reader knows exactly where they are in the story. Add those adjectives with your describing the characters and also the settings, and include that dramatic tragic ending. So this is your must. Use your comic strip plan. So the idea is you get that plan out from yesterday to help you write your myth out today. You're going to use the past tense, so it has happened years and years ago, so make sure you're writing in the past tense. Speech, if you're in the bubble, that gets written in the present tense because they're saying it currently. Include your time conjunctions to sequence and use some inverted commas. Or if you're using it if you're using speech in your speech bubble, you don't need your inverted commas. You just draw the circle around it. And you might want to up-level your choice of vocabulary to add more impact for your reader. So that is nearly the end. Flying is the best feeling of the world. Oh, the best feeling in the world. There he goes. Come back to me, Icarus. So no inverted commas with those. Just before Icarus plummets to the ground in a muddle of wax and feathers. Use present tense in your speech bubbles. And finally, here is, if you're doing you're printing out today, this is how to set out your sheet. I folded mine actually before I did it. I folded it in half. I folded it into 8, folded it into quarters, and then folded it in half again, so it came out like that. And then I drew them on. And there's a copy of the must, should, and could, and your checklist as well. If you don't want to print that out, you don't need to. It just is that's your checklist. You can save a bit of ink and just open the document on your whatever technology you're using. All right. So hopefully we'll get some really lovely ones. I'd love to see some of these sent in if you can. It's really a joy when teachers are getting work in from everybody, and it just brightens our day, and it shows us what amazing pupils we've got in our class, So go well with that today. Okay, see you soon.